Let me just clarify that I haven't seen these films back to back. I mainly just got lazy. I didn't want to make two separate review videos, but I also want to keep myself on the edge by sort of doing a double bill review, you know, something different, just something clear, something concise. Just don't expect any smooth transition. Just letting you know, mild spoiler warning, so general thoughts and feelings are in the chapter, or if you're a visual learner, here. 28 years later is a tale about a kid and his sick mother journeying into a zombie-filled mainland. It's a sequel to the 28 Blank Later franchise. It's kind of an awkward one to navigate through, as on one hand it's a very well made and atmospheric horror film with interesting themes, but on the other hand it's a third of a film. Whilst watching this, I was genuinely impressed by how cinematic this looked, considering that I kept on forgetting that 90% of the film is shot on iPhone 15 Max. They pretty much stuck close to their filmmaking blueprint of trying to capture large-scale spectacle with little equipment. Like how everyone jerks off the fact that 28 Days Later is shot on a camcorder and how that adds gritty atmosphere that is documentary-like. But the fact that I was able to look past the 480p potato quality and just be engaged by a story of people trying to survive in a self-destructive environment is just a massive testament to Danny Boyle's filmmaking skills, even if he just uses Dutch angles half of the time. 28 years later is no different to this. Yes, the budget is bigger, but the fact that they were able to capture footage that had the same quality and fidelity as the cinema camera is both inspiring as well as innovative. The story just was very interesting. Most people would have probably went into it expecting a movie with a lot of intense zombie action, and for the most part it does give us that, but it also gives us a story about a boy growing up in a fucked up environment and learning to survive and accept death, but also just being human. And the literal climax of the film, spoiler alert by the way, is the kid finding out that his mother has cancer. And you get this beautifully shot scene with an emotional soundtrack where this kid sorta has to learn to let go. And it's harsh and it's emotional, but it's also very gentle, considering the context was the mother willingly gets incinerated and the kid sort of gets sedated to make the processing easier. And it repeats the philosophy of memento mori and memento amoris, which is remember death and remember love, which is sort of like an old school philosophy that I think gets well utilized considering the world that they're in. And then the film ends on a cliffhanger, which was kind of a disappointment, but also left me kind of excited, as a big part of this film I liked was the world building, primarily of how culture has been delayed for the people that are stuck with the rage virus, primarily with the tracksuit Power Rangers dressed after a pedophile. Also how the infected have evolved too, from running fuckers to crawling fuckers to running fuckers with massive schlong, or as my buddy Amy would say, pendulous whopper. There was also a pregnant zombie that gave birth to an uninfected baby, which felt like it was preaching something along the lines of, you know, like the birth of Jesus Christ. But it doesn't make sense with the context of the whole zombie virus shit. But with an ending that leaves open threads to different storylines that alludes to the kid and the cult, the dad and the baby, and the doctor who clearly lost his shit in an artistic way, which by the way was an interesting metaphor for how people created memorial of people who died to COVID as the primary inspiration of it, alongside memento mori, and that the skull in the bone temple that he built represents not dead people or infected, but souls and ideas that was unfortunately ended. It was just very intriguing, and I was also expecting the doctor character to take a sinister turn, but it never did, and I'm just very glad about that, because I think Ralph Fiennes' character does have a politeness to him that's very welcoming, despite the borderline psychopathic and disturbing shit that he's doing. Even if the ending is a hit or miss, 28 Years Later is a terrifying entry to the dystopian world of zombie blood and gore, but it doesn't sacrifice its thematic depth with its story. 3.5 pixelated schlong out of 5. Most people would say it's about Brexit or the impact of COVID. I just think it's about growing in a harsh world and accepting things that are out of your control. Similar to how I view 28 Days Later as people trying to survive and find humanity within a self-destructive world. Even if people say it's an allegory for the impact of terrorism, at the end of the day, 28 Years Later is a good film, even if it's a third of a movie, as we've got a sequel coming up in January with Cillian Murphy coming back as Jim. Anyway, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Would you me?
F1 is a tale about a retired old-timer racer who mentors with a hotshot young blood and must push their skills as well as their egos to the limit to try to work together in order to win an F1 race and save their team. I found myself very charmed by this film. It's just a bare-bones underdog tale with the most visceral and exciting racing scenes in cinema. And once the credit roll, Drive By Ed Sheeran starts to play, which was made for the movie, and it just amplifies all of that, and I don't know, it might be the only ginger with a soul. I can anticipate a lot of people stating that it's like Top Gun Maverick but with F1 cars, and it is that kinda, but it's also its own thing in a very special way. Top Gun Maverick is built upon nostalgia and a vibe, whilst also telling a very coherent story and engaging action sequences. This one has the vibe and the coherent story and the exciting action sequences, but it also has personality. I thought the film had likable characters. And it's not the case of the main characters had personality, even the side characters of just the team, everyone had their own individual personality, and it was just nice to see that just work together. The film also has great visuals. They put the camera in a way that you feel like you're in the car driving with them. Shots are not shaky, they do not cut intensely. You see the scene and you're able to just be fully embraced by it. And the story also is just very good. It does have like a very predictable story that does get a bit repetitive, I felt, but that didn't really matter because I was already hooked by the executions of like the characters and the visuals and just also the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this film just slaps. And I genuinely believe that this is a film that must be experienced only on the big screen in either IMAX or 4DX. And this film pushes for nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I found myself just being engaged throughout the film. Never found myself bored or even thinking about checking my watch. I thought Brad Pitt and Damson Idris worked very well in this, in terms of the whole trope of old-timer and the young blood clashing against each other, but ultimately both learning from each other. I thought Kerry Condon's character was very interesting, although the whole like love interest aspect was kind of underrated in my opinion, or just kind of cliched and basic, but I don't know, it didn't distract from the film itself. But also the general theme of this film of doing something for the love of it and the game of it is just a very beautiful and inspiring and universal ideology that just works very well with this film. And I don't know, it felt like just watching a 90s film. You know, those rare, feel-good, and entertaining gems that you come out feeling like a completely different person. Like, after this, I'm definitely gonna be bouncing 2 tennis balls, carrying a deck of cards, and fucking gambling, which, based on my CS2 losing streaks, I'm leaning towards it. F1 may feel familiar, but with a personality and thrilling racing sequences, makes this feel like an action film that is disguised as a sports drama. A solid 5 Brad Pitt out of 5. It earns the stamp of approval for just being a simple underdog story that was just visually stimulating and it made me feel, man, and truly a movie. A certified banger. As my buddy James said when the credits started rolling, when's F2 gonna come out? Anyway, thanks for watching and hearing me yap. Let me know what you thought of these films. Did you think 28 Years Later needed more Pendulous Whopper? Or did you think F2 should come out soon? I think I should also just get something off my chest about this channel, and I've been lacking. Life's been weird for the past few months, and honestly, if you made it this far into this video, I just want to take a moment to just appreciate just appreciate you listening to my dumbass. And if you're not subscribed, still appreciate it. Although I do enjoy uploading these pointless reviews, I do want to do more on this channel, other than sticking to one niche. Because as much as I like making review videos, I also just love making gaming videos and video essays and maybe shit posts. And I want to plan on doing them a lot more frequently, or at least some structure. I kind of just want to make every video feel different, but still have the deep-seated root of my style and my sort of theme, if I have one. But yeah, I apologize for my lack of consistency, but I'm working on it. And you might be thinking this could have been a separate video or like an announcement titled channel update, but after watching 2 films that like stuck with me after watching them, with themes of accepting death and things that are out of your control and doing things for the love of it and just the game of it, it just felt right to talk about the channel and just, you know, just fill you guys in. I don't know. But I do want to upload videos in random bursts of energy, but the content of the videos, it's gonna be bouncing everywhere. So all apologies, but I've been me, you've been you. Have a good night, guys.
I know, I'm sorry.